everybody. Lovely to see you this evening. And it's the spring. The spring is here finally after the most miserable February, the darkest February on some record or other. March came along and they said it was the brightest March is since 1912 or something. So we really have been hitting the records this year. I'm just so pleased. We have a beautiful, beautiful start to April. It really lifts the spirits, doesn't it? It's great to see you here. And what better way to start? We have a lovely kind of a group session here this evening with very familiar faces to you all. Of course, I'm going to go to Elaine Dowling shortly and we're going to have a chat about all things Pilates and yoga. Her beautiful face yoga. She's got she's launched a new name for that, so it's a kind of relaunch, and we're looking forward to hearing more about that. And we'll also go to Katie, my daughter Katie, who many of you know. She's a personal trainer, has some really interesting things to say about that whole area of weights and resistance training. And we've got one or two others, and any of you who would like to come and talk about the kinds of things that you love to do as exercise. I'm just going to start, if you'll bear with me for a minute. I'm just going to read this from this book I mentioned in my email earlier on. That's A Well-Lived Life, and it is by Dr. Gladys McGarry. And Dr. Gladys was 103 when she wrote this book, still practicing. And as I mentioned in the email, when I went to get in touch with her to see would she come and talk to us, I discovered that she had passed in September last year, which is an awful pity because she seemed like the kind of lady who would do that. Let me read to you something which kind of feels like a lovely way to begin spring. Whether you've lost touch with your juice or have never really given it much thought, you can start by doing something, anything that feels good. Start small. Think of the things you identified before, the things that's keeping you going, and lean into it. Or consider a satisfying project you can tackle in a short amount of time. Make something with your hands. Get up and clean behind your sofa, or repot a plant. Remember what it feels like to put your love into action simply for the sake of it. You can also do something for someone else, such as paint a rock, bake cookies, or practice singing a loved one's favorite song. You don't even need to have someone in mind. Trust that if you start making and doing, someone will need it and they will come along. If nothing else, everyone can send good energy to others to think of their happiness and wish them well. These small things may feel insignificant, but they have remarkable effect. Juice is at the heart of my first secret because it's where all things start. It's where we end too, with a life that brings us more and more juice. The rest of my secrets will show you how. But for now, as you're getting started, juice is all you need. And she's talking about the kind of life force that we have. So she's saying start with whatever kickstarts your life force energy, wherever you take pleasure, wherever you're going to encourage the sap to rise, basically, because once you have that, you then gather momentum, and that's when it becomes so much easier. So what better time to consider than at this time of the year, right when the sap is rising all around us and bringing us so much pleasure in nature and everything else that we have around us. So what I want to do now is show you a very short clip from a film that Alan, my husband, made, and it's about a wonderful artist called Joan Davis. Joan Davis. Joan was a ballet dancer for many years, quite famous, and many of you would even recognize her name. And this was taken from the very first moment that Alan actually met her on his series A Day in the Life, and Joan was the featured artist for that. Let's go and have a look at Joan just for a couple of minutes.
Joan Davis is a woman who moves through the earth, the sea, the seasons and life, merging seamlessly with the elements of each, and with the intention of allowing each to do what it wants to do without imposing her will. A dancer by profession, Joan pioneered the contemporary dance movement in Ireland and continues to explore avenues around movement. As a child, her family found peace and contentment in Gorse Hill near Greystones, County Wicklow, a holiday home on the edge of a steep hillside overlooking the sea. Recognizing that the sea brought out the best in all the family, Joan found this to be a place of profound healing, and through time felt compelled to claim the guardianship of this hillside retreat. Today, Gorse Hill is an artistic haven, a healing centre, and is the result of Joan's deeply considered and symbiotic relationship with the environment. We meet her as she returns from a morning swim in the sea.
Yeah, I was awake early and in gleeful anticipation of your arrival. And I got up and I got some things ready, and then I did a couple of stretches, and then I went down for my swim. Yeah.
Tell us about that. Is that something you do?
It's something I do at least every second week, because I need to have the tide in, and
it needs to be fairly calm.
And it needs to be calm, yeah. And the temperature needs to be warm enough. Mm-hmm. So this morning was grand, and the water was just gorgeous, and there were a couple of seals there that were actually very friendly, more friendly than usual, you know. I went down for the swim and came back, had the shower, and there you were, bang on time.
As we can see, though, this is not a little trot down to the beach. I mean, there's mountaineering involved.
There's definitely cliffhanging.
So, I mean, that's tremendous that you have the strength and everything to do that.
Well, it is, thank God I still have that. No, I'm just so grateful this year I'm able to do that again. And what I love is going down and seeing the new flowers that have come out each time I go down. So because there's all this rewilding going on this year everywhere, and I've just finished a permaculture course, I'm seeing things so differently, and the amount of just food out there is extraordinary. Yeah. Natural food. Interesting, because I was born in 1945, so it's right at the end of the war.
She is absolutely amazing. If anybody else wants to see the rest of that particular episode, it's about 45 minutes, and it's on the Artists Well YouTube channel, and she was Joan Davis. There's a number of others there too. But what's really fascinating about her is that, you know, her juice is actually brought about by the climb down to the sea, the swim in the sea, and climbing back through, and her mind is open to everything. She's seeing the flowers and the trees and the seals so it's much more than just a daily exercise. It is literally just embracing world and nature around her. And what you didn't see there when it shows her standing in her garden, she has a number of sculptures all around that garden, and it's possible to visit it if you want. You can get in touch with her and see if you can possibly visit it. I think the details of that might be on the Artist Well channel. I'll find out and put it in an email. But what you didn't see is to the right, hidden in the bushes, and I think in a hazel tree, is her fairy garden. And she is very serious about this. She allowed us, in fact, she asked permission first from the fairies if we could come and visit it the day that we were there, and took a little while before she came back and said, yes, it's okay, you can come and visit. And it is just the most beautiful, reverential, gorgeous space and it's magical, and you can actually feel that incredible magical energy. So everything about Jo, not everything about her life is all about the juice. It's all about movement. Obviously, her ballet. She still does her beautiful moving exercises, her Pilates and her yoga. She eats really mindfully. She's totally plant-based, but she has other supplements in that she takes. But she's amazing, and you'd absolutely love her. So do have a look and see the rest of that film. So listen, thanks very much for bearing with me while I did that. I'm going to go to a very familiar face to us all, Elaine Dowling, whom I absolutely love. Elaine, you are you've only recently retired from your day job, but one of the things, excuse me, this is my other beautiful daughter. They're all here this evening, but she's phoning me because she's on holidays. and she's forgotten that the rest of the world lives on a different time scale than her. But anyway, Elaine, I'm very sorry, forgive me. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us. You recently retired, but it's not as if you have nothing to do. My goodness, you run all kinds. You have your own Pilates course, your own yoga course, you have your own business, you are the queen of movement and beauty. And
No,
you are.
thank you, Trina. That's very kind of you. But I've probably a long way to go to earn that still. Believe you me, I have. I'm a lazy daisy as well, without a doubt.
Well, you're
I
looking good on it.
I do need the encouragement and motivation of people coming to classes to do some work. So but it's interesting. I was sitting there thinking about, God, what is my juice like? But it's probably the garden, and that's probably the garden is probably my motivation. And even though I'm an absolutely terrible gardener, but it probably is. And it's interesting because I would ask permission to move anything, to take a cutting, to take a flower. Yeah, I would always do that. And
Is that true?
it's really interesting. This isn't about what we're supposed to talk about, but I'll tell you this quick story about the garden. Years ago, when we lived up in Ashburn and Meath, we had a north-facing back garden, and the people before us had planted this big tree right up near the back door. And it was beautiful when we moved in because it was tiny. But over the years, it grew to a big, big, tall tree. So it was completely blocking out any light that was coming into the kitchen. And one Sunday afternoon, my other half and I decided it had to go. Big, fully grown tree. And this is a true story. He will, even though he doesn't believe, he will say this actually happened. So anyway, he takes out the chainsaw, and we start to take down the tree. The children, it was a lovely sunny day. It was the summer, which was stupid to be cutting down a tree, but sure, we knew no better then. And the children were all at the front. And as the tree fell, and this is the truth, there was the most unmerciful human scream. Yeah, so much so we ran and picked up the tree to see was there somebody underneath it or behind it, but there wasn't. And from that day onwards, I'm very reluctant to cut anything. And if I'm trimming anything, it's getting a haircut. That's all I'm doing to it, but that is true. And he will say, we got the fright of our lives, like, because it was a real human scream. It was as the tree fell.
I truly believe that. We only had this conversation the other day. In fact, I was speaking with one of the people who was on our workshop at the weekend, and she talked about the trees and how they have a consciousness and they have feelings, and it's quite powerful. It really, really is, particularly in your case where you've actually had real evidence of that. And I wonder if at any point.
Sorry.
No, go on. Go on,
If you
Elaine,
take
please.
a stethoscope to a tree, you'll hear its heartbeat, its beat, like it's respiration and its beat. If you take a stethoscope. Now, I haven't done it, but I've heard loads of friends who said, just go and buy a stethoscope and give it to the grandchildren. Let them listen to the tree breathing and its heartbeat. You'll hear it.
Oh my goodness, we should really do that. That should be taught
I haven't
in every
tried
school.
it, but it's on the list.
Well worth doing. Listen, anybody who has any other experience similar to that, or any other belief in, the fact that we ask permission to handle or rearrange nature's own design.
It's Mary here.
Yeah. Mary, hiya.
I do forest bathing with my daughter down in Gorey. There's a lovely kind of a forest walk in Courttown. And we were there one day, and there was an tree expert there, who said to me, do you know that trees have this sense of presence of other trees? And if you look at a picture of trees, an overhead picture of trees, there's a thing called crown shy. And I said, what's that? And he said, they'll never impede on each other's space. So if you see the picture of the trees in the Amazon, and that they all have their own space, and they won't, there's an area around the crown of the tree that's just theirs. So you can identify each individual tree, and actually it's true. I've seen it.
Wow. Magnificent. And I love the idea, Mary, of forest bathing. I think that's an absolutely wonderful thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
sure.
part of the juice. There we are. We're talking about that. That's really a wonderful way. And thank you for the reminder of that. And we'll come back to you, Mary, if that's okay, in a little while, because you have some interesting things to say about what you do for moving and getting about and getting your
Yeah.
exercise in as well. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you
Okay.
so much. What I love about the Tuesday Night Club, that we're gabbing away. Elaine, thank you again for sharing that as well, because that's fascinating and may provoke other discussions, which is always good. Come back to me about when did you begin? When did you begin the whole area of movement through Pilates, through yoga, and then leading you on to your current business?
When and I was very definite. I was around 49 at the time, and I was extremely unfit and working up in Dublin, living down in Wexford. And I used to stay 2 or 3 nights up in a B&B. And I mean, I couldn't climb the stairs, and that's not an exaggeration. But anyway, there was a gym called the Raven Gym in Bray, and I started going there before I'd go to the B&B, and I'd do a class Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night. And now this is the truth, because the woman in the Airbnb, who I'm still in contact with, like, she used to say to me, like, you're too old, stop it, like, stop it. You know, because I used to come out of the gym. First of all, when I was in the gym, like, I was so unfit that when we were exercising, the room and all used to go spin in the beginning and get dark and everything. But I just knew I had to push through it. And I'd go back to the B&B and I wouldn't be able to climb the stairs. And then I'd leave everything really neat. This is true now, because I honestly believed I'd die each night. It was so hard. I mean, I was so unfit. I honestly believed I wasn't going to wake up, and I used to leave my clothes packed neatly. So at least if she found me, that the room had been tidy. But anyway, so I plowed through that for about a year. And then obviously my fitness really started to improve. And it then, when it started to come on and I started seeing results, and then I felt I was giving the young ones a run for their money in the class, because I was keeping up with them. After about 6, 8 months or so, I was keeping up with them. And they were tremendous feelings, and they were great things to motivate me. And then one evening when I was in there, I was there about a year, and I saw an advertisement for Pilates teacher training. I'd never been to a Pilates class. And I went, oh, I'm going to apply for that. So anyway, I put in the application, filled in, told them I had a good, reasonable level of fitness at that stage. I was about 12 months in at this stage. And then I got a place on it, and I said, God, I better go do a Pilates class. Now, this was in Bray. So one of the nights I booked in to go to a Pilates class in Bray, and it was an advanced class. And your woman says to me, have you done Pilates before? And I said, no, this is my first class. And I always remember her face. She looked at me, and I said, I'm going off to train to be a teacher. And you know what she said to me? Get out of my class this minute. She said that. She threw me out of the class. And okay. And you know, she was right. I didn't think that at the time, but sure, I hadn't got a clue. I hadn't got a breeze. But anyway, I went off then, and I did training for a year. But as I learned, you know, and during that year, you work really, really hard during that year, and your fitness improves. And I started doing movements that I never in my wildest dreams believed I would be able to do. But gradually everything improves, and I was practicing day and night. And then suddenly you're qualified. But it's only then that you actually start to learn about being a teacher and how to teach. And so that's back in 2000. So I was 50 at that stage. So that's 13, 14 years now. And, you know, I'm still learning all the time. And one of the classes I have, I call it the Superstars class, and they're young girls. And they really, really are superstars. Now, I can't do what they can do, but I can teach them to do what they're doing. And I love that class because they're very motivated, and and they honestly believe they're not going to get old, which I just find is ridiculous. They actually think that it's not going to happen to them. And when I'd be listening to them in class, and they think even though for me, I need to take the training now again to another level. I need to change it. I need to up it. And I know your daughter's going to talk about strength and resistance. And I know we need to bring in more strength work, more weights work into my own practice, because I can see a change, and when I turn 60, yeah, there's a change, and I think that's important. So even though I'm still fitter and better than I was, there's still changes that I feel I need to keep readjusting. It's not a static thing. I have to keep changing and realizing, okay, I need to change and work in this direction, or introduce these new movements. Go on, Trina, you're going to say
Absolutely.
something, right?
Yeah, no, I am, because I wanted to catch what you were saying there, because I just think that's so important. It's actually all about moving with the changes. And that if there's, because as we move through each phase or period in our lives, we have different needs. So we continue to do exactly the same thing. We're not going to be in our optimum level, maximizing the opportunities that we have in whatever phase we're in. And I absolutely think this is one of the most important things. In particular, and we know this, once we hit menopause, we very often think we can sleep the way we always did, eat the way we always did, have the glasses of wine the way we always did, and whatever else. And then when we're hit with walloping physical changes and emotional changes and even a low mood and all of those other things, we think it's because menopause. But I honestly believe if we look at changing changing the kinds of ways in which we nourish ourselves and fuel ourselves, that a lot of that would actually go an awful lot better for us. So I love that you're saying that. You're saying that now you've moved into your sixth, and obviously one of the things is that you've said you've reached kind of optimum level with what you have been doing, and maybe you want to stretch even more. Is that really what you're talking
And what I've introduced lately as well is some Qigong. So I've started practicing Qigong, and the electricity in like after the first or second session, I was absolutely shocked at how alive and tingling my whole body was after doing Qigong. I never experienced that in Pilates, but I
really?
definitely experienced it in Qigong, a flow of energy, a movement that I was going, oh, I'm getting my body back again. So I think it's important for me, what I would say is these changes happen and they occur. You have to change with them in whatever way that you want to change with them or need to change with them. But most importantly, you have to move. If you don't move, you seize up. And that's
Yes.
what I find. If I don't move, and I'm talking like on a daily basis, if I don't move, I start to seize up. Like, so whether it's, before I came to Pilates and before I started all that fitness thing, if I was sitting for more than an hour or 2 hours, when I stood up, like I was walking like as if I was 105, trying to get everything to move again. And that stiffness can still come in. So one of the things we started doing in Pilates with the older groups, not the superstars, with the oldest group, is we do a lot of shaking before we start the class, to get the body, to get the energy moving. And I have to say, the classes love it. They think it's really very funny. We do a lot of shaking. And we also try to do a few more. So, well, this is still Pilates. So this is kind of our warm-ups. We try to bring in neurocognitive physical movements. So when we're doing all these things, movements and sequence, percussion movements on our bodies, and to get them moving, but also to help working with, where you're doing these things, these
Yes.
exercises. So with the older group, and when I say older group, say from the 55 onwards, we try to do about 10 minutes of those type of movements in the class. And
I'm sorry to jump in. Do you do this? Is this done in situ, or do you do
no,
any of this?
these classes are done. These are classes that we do here in the studio. And but I suppose it's to keep our minds alert as well, that when we're actually doing exercises. So trying to do a lot of crossover movements and to do them at fast and at speed. And it's quite interesting. So like we might have the arm's going this way, but the hip is going that way,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
so yeah, they're working on people's balance, on movement, their concentration, so that's, I suppose, what I'm saying really is that I have learned that as a teacher, that not only do I have to change, but my class have to change, and particularly women that would be with me for a long length of time, that we have to change with our bodies and with
Absolutely.
what's going on, so.
So would you recommend, you've talked about Qigong, you've talked about Pilates. I know that you have a good understanding of yoga as well. That's very much a part of your life too. Do you recommend this to people, to even for beginners? I mean, we're not all going to go and queue up for the advanced class now after this talk
No,
today.
neither am I. Because I look at them and I go, oh my God, how are they doing that? They're turning themselves inside out, like suddenly
Absolutely.
they're 20s,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Um,
amazing.
so I mean, I really and truly, I think you just start with something, but something more than walking.
Yes,
That's my opinion.
more
Walk,
than walk. Okay.
absolutely. But if you're to walking, to bring in something else,
Okay.
bring in the weights, start building up the muscles. Kate is going to talk about that now. But, start building up the muscles, building up the strength, changing your diet. But I find, well, for me, if I just walk, it's really good, and I'm out in nature and it's very good, but I need more. I need more. I need more to keep that strength going in the arms, strength in the legs,
Yes,
I need more, and I
absolutely.
need more resistance. And I've had a host of injuries in the last few years. And what I would say is, well, I'm among the elite athletes because they're always breaking things. So I'm always breaking things.
There you
I'm not
are. You're in
osteoporosis
good
or
company.
anything, but I have had trauma injuries from exercise, from thinking I was 20 and doing the most ridiculous things and going flat down on my hand, and having impact injuries, so
Yeah, but you're developing the strength too.
at
You
the same
obviously.
time, I call this my bionic arm,
Yeah,
because it's definitely stronger than the other one, and it's the one I
yeah,
smashed, and the new bone laid down,
yes.
it's definitely it's stronger, and when I'm exercising, it's definitely stronger. Um,
Amazing.
so I
Can
mean,
we briefly go?
I,
I was
sorry.
going to say, can we go to? No, I'm so sorry for interrupting you because I don't want to lose the opportunity to talk to you about what you did have FaceFit Yoga and you still have FaceFit Yoga,
Yeah.
but I know that you're relaunching and you have changed the name and it's a beautiful name. Do you want to let us know what that is this
So
evening?
I'm hoping to call it Yoga Aigaha. Now I'm not a Gael Gore, but
You have to
anyway,
spell it and I'll
which
put it in
means
the.
I had it wrote out in front of me, AIG, but I'm after losing the piece of paper. I wrote it away. It's just not flowing from me just yet. The word is, but not the spelling of it. So it's yoga of the face, and it's
Okay.
an
And
Irish
when you
word.
Yeah,
Sorry.
come back to us. Come back to us
Yeah,
when you have that. Won't you
yeah.
send me details of that?
So
Because I know we're all interested in that too.
yeah, and I want to try and build that, because yoga of the face isn't just about facial exercises. It's about that way
Mm.
of life, your diet, your spirituality, so I want to kind of tap into that Celtic element that exists within ourselves, and to try and nourish that as I grow older, and to bring that more into our practice. And I know in our classes, so there's some people actually from the Tuesday Night Club that are still doing classes with me on Wednesday and Sunday. And our practice, our face yoga practice has evolved incredibly so. And we would bring in as much more our mind in relation to how
Oh,
we view
battery
our
going.
face. So we would do
Very
lots
good.
of affirmations around our faces, and try and, when we look at ourselves and think about our faces and our bodies, that we think about them in a very positive, light, and stop and be our own best friend, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And if anybody wants to contact you, Elaine, is there an easy way to do that? Can we put that in the
Well,
chat?
the website is there, FaceFit, but it will change soon. But at the moment, it's still the same. It's
So it's
myfacefityoga.ie, and my number is there. And I suppose just to say, I'm really bad at the promoting thing. On Monday, starting next Monday, we did this for a long time, but we had to stop because of work commitments. And we do a Rise and Shine class. I don't know if anybody's interested in. So Rise and Shine starts at 7:10 on, we do it Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we do 30 minutes of Pilates online, but now it's more movement than just strictly Pilates. And then we do 20 minutes of face yoga. So we do from 7:10 until 8 o'clock. Now, sometimes people just come and do the face yoga piece or the yoga
Yeah.
and that's be the new word. And they do the last 20 minutes, and they're sitting in their kitchen. Kids are having breakfast around them, and they're doing their face exercises, or they might just do the Pilates and not do the face exercises, and others do both.
And that's Rise and Shine with Elaine.
Rise and shine. We'd be rising. I don't know about we'd be shining first thing in the morning. But yeah, by the time the session's over, we'd be all wide awake. And I have stopped it for the last year and a half because of the way work was, and I was up and down on the 5:30 train to Bray.
I don't know how you're doing it.
I don't know how I did it either, Trina. I don't know how I did it.
don't know how, and you look so fabulous. You are
Oh.
such an incredible advertisement for what you do.
But when I was telling all the girls, yeah, we're starting back up next week, and they were going, can we not start this week? So yeah, they're all delighted to be back doing it. Because we felt the benefits of that movement the first thing in the morning, before breakfast, before coffee.
And so people sign up with you for this?
Yeah, they can sign up for them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Trina, I never let money be a block to anybody joining a class, so sometimes people just haven't got any money to do it. It's €15 to do 3 classes a week. But if people just, if they haven't got it, or money's tight or whatever, just let me know. I just send them the link. It's never a problem.
You're a sweetheart.
Yeah, no, it's never a problem. And I don't mean that I'm not good or anything. I just rather everybody moved, I feel the benefit of it myself, and yeah.
I can see it in you. I really mean that. And so when we're talking about, even as Dr. Gladys says, do anything to get the juice rising, even to do a few classes with you, just to get things moving, get started. And then see, because look at your story. What you've just told us is you transformed your whole life by following that kind of instinct to climb those stairs and not have to leave your clothes tidy and neat in case she didn't find you breathing the following morning. And I know I giggled there, but actually I do completely get you.
True.
Yes.
True. I honestly thought I was going to die. I was so unfit. I thought I'd never make it,
Well, look at you now. As you said, never in my wildest dreams, because you took that first step. So those first steps are very powerful. Elaine, thank you so much.
Thank
we may
you.
come back
Thank
to
you very much. Thank you.
today. And
Thank you all of you. Yeah.
To Kate.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Elaine. Katie, I'm just going to call you in because Elaine mentioned there's something very, very important about resistance training, working with weights, developing muscle strength, and that kind of thing. I've been reading this mighty tome, guys. This is How Not to Age by Michael Greger, MD. Now, it's great. You can dip in and out of it. But one of the things that it says is that studies on people who do sort of build, muscle strength, they develop a greater balance. And one of the things, and I'm sure with what you do also, Elaine, this occurs. And one of the things they discovered, that regardless of how weak your bones are as a result of, say, osteoporosis or whatever else, that it is muscle weakness that causes people the greatest damage, because they are more likely to fall as a result of a lack of balance, as a result of a lack of muscle strength. And the falling is the real problem. You could live quite a long, healthy life with fairly thin bones or brittle bones, but falling is the real problem. And so he maintains that we really need to keep our muscles up. One of the things, before you speak, Katie, I discovered is prunes are by far the greatest thing to eat with regard to maintaining what our body needs in order to build muscle. And that combined with almonds daily is a sort of power surge into muscle and bone and for health of muscle and bone. So there you go. I went out and I bought a great big bag of prunes today and a great big bag of almonds, and I'm going to stuff them all in little bags and walk around with them for the next few weeks. As you say, Elaine, we have to change. Oh, prunes, honestly. Katie, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Well, look at you. You're in a very strange environment. What are you doing there?
I just happened to be training a few people before this.
Oh,
So I've just hopped on now. They left. They left at 7 on the dot and I was able to quickly log in. So thank God.
great. So you got
Yeah.
to see all that about Joan and about Elaine and about everything else as well.
Been
But
here from
Katie, yeah, but one of the things that you're always saying, you are, now I have to say this, I have done a course with you or two. I need to get back and do another course. Yeah. So I have done this. And one of the things I absolutely love about you is that when, for example, some part of me wasn't feeling strong or didn't feel able, you were able to find another way to achieve the same result. That was really interesting. But
Yeah.
why do you, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the thing about this is a lot of people I find come to me and they'll say like, oh, I can't do that exercise, and I'll always try it with you anyway. Even if somebody says to me, oh no, I couldn't do that, I'll always say, okay, well, let's break it down and try. And then if you physically are unable to do a certain movement due to, it could be, your shape, it could be like anything. There's loads of reasons why you might not be able to do a certain movement. But what people don't realize, and I think it's because there's a lot of videos online of people doing certain movements that they think that they are extremely necessary, that like there's no point in you even training if you can't do a barbell squat, but actually there is another way to do every single movement in exercise. Like, so for what you were saying before, I think, for example, we were trying to do some form of a pull movement and it was too difficult. So we were able to change that around and have you like on the floor, pulling yourself up onto the bar, like all that kind of stuff. So there's always ways around anything. Yeah.
Mm. So do you think, I mean, how would someone start, Katie? Or what, no, just what are the benefits of being, of weight on resistance training?
Well, actually, I wanted to talk on something that you mentioned just there about the prunes and the almonds.
Oh, right,
I have something to go with your prunes and your almonds. So
okay.
You were saying about how about the balance and how even if you've got like the weak bone density and all that kind of stuff, that it's the actual falling over that's the problem. And what happens is obviously from actually the age of 30, we start to lose our estrogen. It starts to drop a little bit. And then when you get to the age of 50, it starts to accelerate even faster with losing your estrogen. So what then obviously comes with that is your bone density gets a little bit weaker, like all that kind of stuff, like bone density and muscle mass starts to drop as estrogen drops. So with resistance training and your prunes and your almonds, with all that, it starts to build back up and basically almost reverse any of that issues that comes with the estrogen loss. So having stronger muscles equals having stronger bones, and also like bringing back that muscle mass that's going to protect everything in your body. So it's actually really, really important that you do muscle training. And I think as well, there's like a huge myth that goes around when people think of weight training and lifting weights and all that kind of stuff, resistance training, basically. There's a that people have always been saying forever and ever, and that is that they're going to turn into a big She-Hulk and that they're going to get big. That's one thing that people come to me and they say, now I want to start lifting weights because I know I've read somewhere that I'm supposed to, but am I going to turn into a big She-Hulk? I don't want that, right? It would be a bodybuilder's dream to be able to turn into a She-Hulk. It is not easy. That includes a lot of other things. So lifting weights does not turn you into a big bulky person. It actually just maintains all these things that we need to be able to do everyday things, such as like lifting shopping bags out of the car, walking up and down stairs, like all that kind of stuff is all it all comes with weight training. And then there's other things as well that I know can happen as well when we hit menopause, even perimenopause, would be things like sleep changes, mood changes, and obviously muscle. We can start to lose a bit of our muscle, and then also weight changes, which can happen. Weight gain happens more commonly than the other way around, unfortunately. And I think that we find it very, very stubborn and very, very difficult to lose. But with weight training, that's the kind of stuff that you need in order to, you know, counteract those symptoms that come with menopause and perimenopause.
Mhm, mhm. Brilliant. And because I know that you have a definitive course as well for women with endometriosis, which is
Yeah.
very interesting. I hadn't realized that before. So you even say there are myths regarding how women with endometriosis must exercise.
Yeah.
And one of the things you were only saying today was that, what was it you said you were talking about on an Instagram post earlier
Oh,
about?
it's so about people basically with endometriosis, quite similarly to menopause, is that it's extremely difficult for us to lose body fat. And so people can be training and working as hard as they can, getting up at 6 a.m. to come to their circuit classes and trying to sweat as much as they can to lose as much weight. Um, when actually all that does is cause inflammation and ends up making us not able to lose the weight, because your body goes into panic mode and starts to hold on to everything, because it's like, I need to protect this body, so I need to keep as much fat as possible so that I can protect all my organs and keep everything safe. And so the body fat does not go anywhere. So what we actually need to do instead is low impact, less stress on the body, and then everything starts to change, like majorly. It's just because the if you put your body under any kind of stress, and that doesn't mean daily stress, I mean as in like lifting heavy weights and jumping and running in circles and doing all those things that they tell us is good to do, which is getting your heart rate up and getting really sweaty. We
Mhm.
actually do the complete opposite,
Okay.
which I just find very interesting because it's not what we're taught, you know.
Okay, I like that because that part of the program that Dr. Michael Grieger talks about in How Not to Age is that, and many of the women here probably already know this, is that we should have 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week, or 75 minutes of quite dynamic exercise a week. And that would be a little bit like what Elaine said there a little while ago, is that whilst walking is really good for you,
Yeah.
then a little bit extra is also necessary in order to to get to optimum fitness.
Absolutely. I made a mental note when Elaine said that, actually, about the, like, how walking isn't enough. And I completely agree with you, Elaine, because obviously it depends on your situation. If, I was dealing with a client who cannot physically move from their bed, obviously, in that sense, of course, anything is better than nothing. So I would love people to just get out and go for a walk or something like that. But when people say, I've been walking every single day, I've been getting my 10,000 steps or whatever, as much as I can, and I'm not able to reach my goal, which could be weight loss, weight gain, muscle growth, anything like that. And they're like, I'm walking every day and nothing's changing. It's because the walking is amazing for the muscle that we need to protect, which is our heart. But
Mhm.
it does not necessarily mean that you are going to be able to reach your goals. There is that little bit more that needs to be done. Cardio is definitely not the answer. It would have to be the nice, like even like Pilates, yoga, resistance training. Those three things are amazing.
Mhm. Okay. So what would you recommend for if someone was to begin? Because remember what Elaine said as well. She was a very brave new beginner. At one stage, she couldn't make it up the stairs.
Yeah.
So, and many of us are either there, or we may be a little bit on, but we want to increase our fitness level
Yeah.
and develop greater tone or whatever else it is, and even certain areas of our bodies. A lot of us would like strong, nice defined shoulders, or strong back or whatever else. What would you recommend, for people to begin to do? Maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow morning?
a lot of people want to, like, exactly, start tomorrow morning in your bedroom, in your kitchen, wherever it is that you want to do this. I would recommend 4 movements that are going to target every single body part that you need to target, okay? And not only does this help build your strength, it also helps loosen up everything and get use of things, because there's things that there's muscles that we just do not use very often at all. So there'd be 4 exercises that I would ask people to do, and it all depends on whether you have anything at home that you can use. And the first one would be a body weight squat. And depending on, I can actually like show you a couple of demos, but depending on your what you've got at home, or depending on your fitness level, if you can, you could do body weight squats. So literally, it's just placing your feet hips width apart. Hold your hands at your chest to keep that center of gravity, and then just bending the knees, dropping down and standing up. And if that's too difficult, using your chair, come down to the seat, stand back up, down to the seat, stand back up, okay? And that's the first movement that I would 100% get people to do, because not only is that warming up your hips and everything like that as well, you're building lower body strength, which helps with any lower back pain. It keeps you standing up nice and straight. It's very, very important. The second thing that I would recommend people to do, which is very, very good for your chest and also your back, would be your push-ups. Now, when I say push-ups, I do not mean like a military person on the floor. I mean like off the wall, like not necessarily off anything else. You can do it off your chair. So using the back of the chair, coming down to the chair, and then pushing the chair away, something like that. You can do it off a door, as long as the door doesn't open in the opposite direction, because, you know, injuries and things like that. And literally just pushing the surface away from you, and that's all you need to do. The next one that I would highly recommend, and this would be if you happen to have some kind of resistance band, or if you have some, even just some weights or something, would be rows for your back. So if you have resistance bands, you can tie it around something and just pull the resistance bands to your top of your chest or just to your neck, elbows wide. This movement is really, really good, especially if you are someone who sits an awful lot throughout the day. What happens is, if we sit like this for too long and you start to hunch over, we can't help that. It's going to happen. You're going to hunch. And there's 3 muscles that are attached from your shoulder to your back. And those 3 muscles, the more we sit like this, the longer and stretched out they become. And so then you'll naturally just fall forward. If we keep doing lots and lots of rows, it strengthens up those 3 muscles and it pulls your shoulders back and keeps them there naturally. And therefore, you won't end up with those awful tingles in your back from sitting too long hunched over like this. And then the last exercise that I would love for people to do is your shoulder press. This is going to give us those lovely shoulders that everybody loves, the nice defined shoulders, nice strong shoulders. Shoulder press is 2 weights. If you don't have weights, you can literally use tins in your kitchen, like anything that's like that you can grip like this. And you literally just press straight up over your head and back down, over your head and back down. And I can send you on like a list for your email, for your follow-up email after Tuesday Night Club, of the amount of times to do it and how much rest to take and all that kind of stuff as well.
That's wonderful. That's really good. So now we've got something we can do. We can start that juice flowing first thing tomorrow morning, Katie. I just thought there, you said about tins, you know, those bottles of water that you can
Oh,
get.
yeah.
Sorry, excuse me, bottles of water that you can get. You know, if they're empty and you finish the water, could you fill them with sand or something like that? Yeah, a little bit of, yeah, and use them.
Yeah, 100%. That's a brilliant idea.
That's great. Thank you. And Katie, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, and one of the things I do want to say is that you do have this particular program for women with endometriosis. If there may be people watching here now who know of people who are suffering and really do want to get to start, to begin to make the changes that are going to give them back the power over their own body. Because sometimes it can feel, I know you do, because you suffer with it yourself, you can feel that it is in control of you, and you're a great advocate for how do we work with it and move forward? So I think that would be really important. So look, I'm just going to pop your details in the chat box as well. What do we do? What do we call it, Katie?
KatieK. So for like social media and things like that, it's at KatieK.fitness.
Oh yeah, okay. Social media. What's that again? At
KatieK.fitness.
K dot.
And I am planning to have for you to send on as well, if the ladies, if any interested or they know somebody who might be. I have a new program starting that's Stronger in 6 weeks, and it's basically for people who are starting either from scratch or they've had a bit of time away from any kind of physical activity and they want to get themselves back into it. And it would be 12 sessions, 2 a week, just to kind of get yourself back into the flow of movement, strengthening every single muscle from the head down. And there will be check-ins, there would be habit tracking, making sure you're getting enough water in to rehydrate, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll send you on the details of that if anybody is interested as well.
This is lovely. Thank you so much, Katie. Lots of thank you, Katie's there as well. Stronger in 6 weeks. Dorota wants to know where you're based. You're based there in Village.
Yeah.
Corners Court Village, sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot for a minute. Just down the road. Yes. Corners Court Village, that's where Katie's based. Thank you so much for that. That's lovely. And you certainly give us some ideas of starting again. Is the 12 weeks online, or the 6 weeks is your 6 weeks, Stronger 6 weeks online, Katie?
Stronger in 6 weeks is not online. Well, I would rather be seeing people in person to actually go through the exercises with you. However, if you are already not necessarily advanced, but you're more familiar with the weights and everything, I have an app that all my clients get for free, and I can do the check-ins and the tracking and all that through the app. And so if you don't necessarily want to meet in person, you can sign up through my app and I'll be able to send you everything that way instead.
Super. Okay. Thanks so much. Thank you. And Yvonne says, thank you for the tips. And that's super. Okay. Thank you very much, Katie. Because what I want to do now, or go to one or two of you. I know Eileen McDermott Rowe, the reason why I'm coming to you for a moment is because you are one great lady for walking. And I know that we said earlier about, you need to be doing more than walking. But let me tell you, Eileen McDermott Rowe, if you're here, she has walked the Camino Way and so many other incredible places. I wonder if you're there, Eileen. Let's have a look at you. Are you there at the moment? We come and say hello. You might, maybe she's had to leave. No. Eileen, don't forget to unmute yourself if you're coming to talk to us. Yeah. Okay, Eileen, while you have a moment there, Eileen, I'm actually going to go back to Mary, if that's okay. Mary,
Yep.
Hi again. Mary iPhone. It's great to see you again. I just wanted to come back to you again because we had a wonderful conversation and you talked about how you really felt the need to get moving again. And one particular thing made all the difference you needed. Can you remember what you said that was?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, beautifully. Thank you.
Yeah. Two of my daughters, Lynn, you know Lynn already. She's the singer and the composer and the writer, and she's walking all the time. And then the other girl, Joanne, who's a teacher, is walking also. And they were trying to get me to walk, and I tried, and I couldn't do it. And then I tried to stay up with them, keep up with them, and the front of my legs were so sore, and I was so tired, and my feet were sore. And one day, they both said, "Mum, your shoes are wrong." So I had the wrong shoes on. So they told me which shoes to get, and especially for walking. And I bought the shoes, and that's made all the difference. Proper shoes. Now I'm doing, say, 6,000-7,000 steps a day, which is just, and I don't feel anything other than I'm bouncing along the road.
So that was the key that turned the lock, really.
Turned the lock, yeah.
Isn't it? So very often where we feel we can't do something, and not unlike what Katie said there, that there's always another way, something that may actually be impeding your progress, or maybe causing you discomfort, that's making you feel that you're the problem. But in actual fact, it was, in your case, it was the walking shoes. Well, look, I actually think it's a wonderful piece of advice to tell people to get the, invest in something that's really going to support you well. And I agree with you. I would have had a big problem as well walking, which I absolutely love. And I want to ask you a little bit more about it in a moment. But I changed my shoes now. In my case, I got a great pair of Skechers, and they are so comfortable. They really, really, really support my feet. So much so I could walk any length of time now, which is great. But Mary, I want to ask you, how do you feel overall as a result of moving a lot more?
I feel I'm sleeping better. I feel I have more energy. I also feel my brain is working better.
Yeah.
I don't seem to be as stressed as I was. I don't seem to be as overwhelmed with, let's say, life challenges as they come, because I think the blood is getting up to my brain a bit more than it did before I started to walk. And now I'm trying to walk places rather than use the car. For example, I went shopping the other day and I thought I had the key in the car and I thought, why don't I walk? So I went into my shed, I resurrected an old shopping trolley I had, put the keys away, walked up to the shops and back, and I did 4,000 steps.
Ah, fantastic. And all on a sunny day and without thinking too much about it.
Yeah.
Isn't that is fantastic. So those little changes, those little tweaks to our routine, our behaviors, can actually yield a huge difference to you. And I'm so pleased to hear you say that about, you sort of cognitively, you also feel it, because that's another thing that Michael Greer says in this book again, that one of the amazing benefits of any kind of exercise is that our brain functions much more efficiently. The other book, I'm holding books up, passing them on to everybody. This is one by Dr. Mark Hyman, Forever Young. It's a brilliant book. He is a doctor, but also functional medicine practitioner. And this is what it's all about in functional medicine. It's not just about the drugs and the tablets. It's about the things that we can do for ourselves that really make huge dividends in our lives. So he actually says as well, he talks about the fact that our brains become so much more sharper. We can think more clearly. And as you quite rightly said, much more resilient in the little setbacks and things. We find we bounce back more quickly. And develop better coping strategies as well, really, is one of the big benefits too, which is part of, I think, as we grow older and we find that we may be more challenged by things. We feel, oh my goodness, this is decline. This is what they're talking about. But in actual fact, all it may be is that we need a good walk and a big glass of water and a great night's sleep and a few almonds and prunes as well thrown in.
Did you say at one stage, or you might have quoted somebody, a lot of life's problems can be solved by just a 10-minute walk out in the fresh air?
Absolutely. With your two physicians, your right leg and your left leg. That's it. That's what they say. Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing I don't do, I know a lot of people do, but I don't do is I don't put in earplugs. I actually I want to hear the traffic. I want to hear the birds. I want to hear just normal sounds around me. Whereas if I put in the earphones, I might be listening to a program, music, fine, I can do that some other time. When I'm in the air, walking up the road, down the, or in the forest bathing, I actually don't want the distraction of a radio program or an argument about politics, or I actually want to hear nature in its original form, in its authentic form. And it's
I love that.
Walk and I hear people, I see guys running and they have their what do you call them, plugs, is it?
Buds, yeah, they're buds.
I don't want to. The opposite to that.
You're absolutely right, because sometimes when you go out and and there's a place for the audiobooks. I often say I take people on my walks. Wonderful people come on my walks with me, but there are times when I just want to go out and tune into myself, even just listen to what kind of wisdom is coming through for me. And very often that's really meditative. It's quite a lovely way of moving into that meditative state, because one of the things, and I know we talked about walking earlier, but one of the things that's proven, and it's an Irish scientist in Trinity College, a research work that he has done, is that walking is, because our body intuitively knows, a bit like breathing, a bit like our heart heartbeat, to the, you know, because our body intuitively knows how to move, it allows us to very quickly come to a point where all the other parts of our being get to have more attention. And so mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, that is what a walk is really good for. So we don't have to think about the steps, we don't have to think about the breaths, we get into a rhythm, and everything else begins to come to the fore and gets an opportunity to be heard and seen and explored and all of that kind of thing. So thank you so much, Mary, for that and for sharing that here. Lorraine says, thank you so much, Elaine and Katie. I'm definitely interested in moving more at this time, and the Zoom session has definitely reignited my interest in joining some classes. Thank you so much for your generosity. I look forward to getting all the information I need to follow up on with the follow-up email, and we'll do that in the next couple of days. Lorraine, thank you so much. I'm going to give Eileen, and thank you so much, Mary, also for sharing that. That's really, really a lovely thing to hear. And I particularly love the idea of forest bathing as well. I love forest bathing. Eileen, are you able to come to us now? I don't know whether
Yes,
you...
I wasn't able to unmute, but I've succeeded with it now. And
Yeah.
just to follow on what was said from both Elaine and Katie, the idea that you might become a bit of a Hulk. I've been doing strength training for 8 years now, and the only time I wasn't doing it was the 2.5 years of the pandemic. And
Yeah.
I noticed the decline from that because I was walking during the pandemic every day, continuously, because there was very little else we could do. And the deteriorated in that time quite a bit. So it was a reminder. Now, I happen to have a problem with the spine, so it is essential to do strength training, but it really reminded me that walking is not enough. And particularly as you age as well, it's essential to keep building the muscles and strengthening your body. Yeah.
Absolutely. But Eileen, you're a queen of walking.
Well, I did the Camino. I have the book here for anyone who's thinking of it. It is a great book because it literally tells you everything in terms of preparing yourself and how you can travel. And it also gives you all the places to stay along the way, and they update it all the time.
Do they?
Yeah, it's I'll give you the author's name. Terrific information in it.
Yeah.
John Brearley. And it's just Camino de Santiago.
John Brearley.
John Brearley, yes.
Yeah.
Brearley, yeah. And I did the Portuguese Camino as well. What's wonderful about the Camino is, you can do it in stages and you can do it at whatever pace you choose. And there's a wonderful atmosphere from the people who walk. You meet all sorts of characters. And you can see people who don't want to talk or who do want to talk. It's a wonderful experience, yeah, and beautiful scenery along the way. And of course, as the years went on, now the accommodation along the way, and that, whether it's small hotel or hostels, but they're all at a very high standard now, particularly the official Camino. And the one along the Portuguese one is actually along the coastline, so it's a different experience. I preferred the one actually, believe it or not, in the countryside, which is the official Camino from Santiago or Leon, all different places you can start from. And you can do it in stages of, 10 or 12 miles or 23 kilometers or that sort of thing a day, or you can do less or more. You've great opportunities to pick, you can plan it yourself in terms of how much you want to do. Yeah.
And tell me, Eileen, is it all dry bread and water, or?
Oh, no. And also what I thought was wonderful is this, even in this little book as well, they tell you the good little coffee places along the way. And oh yes, there's excellent, and the local food is very good if you stay in some of they're not hostels now, because I am always somebody who wants my own room and good facilities, and there's some very good places along the way. I forget the name of them, like bodegas or some name like that. They're certainly a step up from hostels, and you have your own ensuite and that, which is, I think, important, dare I say it, as I get older too.
Listen, I love all of this, and in fact, it allows me kind of move in sweetly to announce that we will be doing a kind of adventure special, really, and many of you here have spoken of the kinds of breaks you have. There's one member here this evening has just come back from a cruise in Japan. Others, in fact, I spoke with a lady today, is going on a walking holiday in Madeira, and it's so hilly. I'm dying to find out how
Yeah,
she gets. Now, I'm not for this evening, but I would love if you will come. You have been to Machu Picchu. Many of you have had
yes.
wonderful things as well, fabulous trips that you've done, wonderful, they visited amazing sites throughout the world, and a little bit of kind of just discussing amongst ourselves what is possible. I know Aisling O'Brien will be here, and she'll talk about, she's involved in a travel agency, has her own business as well, and she's going to give us some ideas of what's possible for us as well. And we're going to do that in the next few weeks. So any of you who want to share with us some of your most exciting adventures, some of the things that you, even the sort of great holiday of a lifetime plan that you've had, just to come and talk to us and open up our world a little bit for us and show us that sometimes there's a really good place for the wonderful little hotel in Marbella or Lanzarote or wherever it is people like to go, and that is super. But sometimes maybe we want to try something a bit different. So Eileen, will you come back and talk a little bit more when we do that about
I
some of
will
your...
indeed. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I've been all over South America and everything. For goodness sake, it's wonderful to hear what we have. We have a rich resource here. So I'm looking forward to you all coming back. And also on that subject, and just before we go to our three cards, because I see that we're really over time tonight,
Oh,
we have just completed, speaking of, and I mentioned in the email earlier that, that our outer senses, our nutrients that we eat and our sleep and how we hydrate our body and how we exercise and keep our body is really important. One of the things we were discussing over the weekend is that these senses, these outer bodily senses, are actually our antennae for the wonderful frequency and energy around us, and it feeds us so much information. That workshop was so fabulous. I really, really enjoyed myself on Sunday with 9 beautiful women. And I had a number of other people who had asked about it, but Sunday last didn't suit them. So I have had permission to use the room again on the 25th of May. And so we're going to run the Discover Your Extraordinary or Extrasensory Gifts and Transform Your Life workshop again on the 25th of May for anybody who's interested, or pass the word around if you think somebody could do with that little kickstart, juice rising opportunity for themselves to transform their lives. Let's do that again. Okay, so finally, so contact me if you are interested to register. We get your name down. We have a few people already, so we just want to get those names registered soon. Number 1. So you know the card routine here. Choose a number 1, 2, or 3. I just want to check on something. Number 1 is the divine protector. The divine director. The divine director. From Kyle Gray's deck, the divine masters. And the divine directors, the message for you here is trust the process. Make space for divine order to unfold. You are being guided to stop trying to micromanage the universe. Sometimes events are beyond human comprehension, and thus trying to figure out the finer details for your life may be holding you back rather than taking you forward. When the divine director comes to you, you are being invited to trust that there is a purpose behind what is unfolding. The choices and circumstances and challenges you are facing will lead you to know and trust yourself at a deeper level. Trust that divine order is unfolding. And that's if you chose number 1. Number 2 is Horus. Horus is manifestation vortex. And actually, it's also belief makes manifest, thoughts attract and create. And the message in this is you are deeply connected to the universe at this time and held in the manifestation vortex. Your divine guidance is to spend time thinking, feeling, and experiencing the energies connected to your wildest dreams, because this is a powerful time to surmount the energies of limitation and fully stand in your power. If you've been driving an intention or working on a particular project, consider what is the best outcome, because the power of the stars is with you now. That is number 2, Horus. And number 3 is an interesting god. It is Hanuman, devoted warrior. Let God's love hold you in strength. Your message: when you devote yourself to a vision with unwavering faith, you welcome in the support of the universe. Today, the devoted heart of Hanuman is guiding you to reflect on your strengths and your talents. Let me just see, there might be a little more in that one there. You are someone who gives with all your heart, but may find it hard to receive in return. In fact, you give without looking for anything in return, but the universe wants you to make more time, energy, and space to be supported too, because when you open up to the possibility of being supported and nourished, you allow yourself to be replenished, and thus you have more to give. Okay, take more self-care, lots more. And don't forget your prunes and your almonds. That's really going to make a difference too. Thank you everybody for being here tonight. It's been a lovely evening. I've really enjoyed all this beautiful wisdom here. And I do hope that if you take one thing away, the most important thing is check in with yourself. What is your juice? What is the thing in you that causes the sap to rise? Getting your hands in the ground, baking a cake, taking a walk, admiring the trees, hugging a tree, a little bit of stretching, Pilates, having a look at some of Elaine's videos for her FaceFit practices, because oh my gosh, when we feel that we bring out our inner beauty through that, it shines in our face, doesn't it? Elaine has so much to give as well. And also have a little look, if you like, or if you know of anybody who may be interested in some of Katie's work, certainly for anyone with endometriosis who is going through menopause transformation, or is what was it, strength, I forgot it now, I'm terribly sorry, Katie. I know Elaine's is Rise and Shine, thank you, and Katie's one is Stronger in 6 weeks. Okay guys, have a lovely evening, enjoy yourself, take in the sun, and thank you so much for being here this evening. We'll see you again very soon. Bye bye.